all JKD is false. All Jeet Kune Do is false. I made that statement, and I may get a lot of crap for it. Probably will get a lot of people upset. But what I mean by that is that Bruce Lee passed away, and Jeet Kune Do is his. He didn't give anybody permission to carry on that label. It's his label, it's his thing, his expression, nobody else's. So everything you see out there that people are claiming Jeet Kune Do is not real. It's all false. What they should be claiming is their own label, their own name, and express themselves. You see, Bruce is somebody who knew that this was going to happen. Clearly, as soon as he was starting to get into the acting, as soon as he started to get a little fame, everybody started using his name, using everything to make money off of him. You know, he closed down all his schools when he went into acting. He knew that teaching the martial arts, the people weren't ready for it, and he had to figure out another idea, another way to make it. So he decided to go into the acting. Because teaching it was just not cutting it. Nobody was getting it, you know, at his level. Nobody back then, and pretty much nobody now. Because people, they just don't understand what martial arts is. You know, I'm not going to say nobody, but not anybody that's up to his level of fame, pretty much. And really, it's his own expression. He didn't give anybody. Jeet Kune Do is not a style. It's not a system. He didn't allow it to become a tradition. Because in a tradition, when you turn into a style, you turn into a tradition, it sets the limitations. He would teach that there is no limitation. You got to go beyond it. So there is no system, there is no style. So, really, all Bruce Lee can do is serve as an inspiration for you to develop your own expression, your own way. He's one of the few out there that allowed you to be free. Free to be expressive, to be yourself. Not to follow him, but to be yourself. See, a person that's business-minded will try to get you to follow him. If he wants to make money off of you, then he's going to try to get you to follow him. Alright? Bruce Lee tried to do the school thing at first. To you know, in a way, try to make his way into a system. But he abandoned the idea because he knew it's not going to work. Because there's too many limitations, and these people that he's training are not being able to express the martial arts the way that it's supposed to be. So he just decided to just take it upon himself to just express it the way that it should be expressed, and just to let it out there, you know, to let people know that all this system stuff is not the way. You gotta, you know, when these people, you know, I'm not saying these people, there's a lot of people that's been inspired by Bruce. And more people, of course, there's going to be more people inspired by him that aren't that talented than there are that are talented. And those that are inspired by him, that are talented, they're self-expressive in what they do. So, you might have a person, John Smith, that might have even trained with Bruce. But it's not Jeet Kune Do, it's John Smith's Kung Fu. Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee, that's his thing. You gotta come out with your thing. You know, and it's something, if you think about it like this. Bruce didn't give anybody permission to use his label. If you think about it in the corporate world, where it's business oriented, and there's strong, you know, heavy copyright laws and all this other stuff. Look at something like Walmart. You can't just open up a store and call it Walmart. You need their permission. You can't just open up a restaurant and call it McDonald's and use the same thing that they used. You need their permission. So with Bruce, he didn't give anybody permission. So everybody that's using his name, his label, it's false. They have to create their own. They had to build their own reputation. Just like he did. He didn't hide behind Wing Chun anymore. He started to promote his own thing. First it was Jun Fan Kung Fu, Bruce Lee's Kung Fu, and then he decided, he called Jeet Kune Do. But really, he's inspiring us to create our own. And we can't hide behind something that doesn't belong to us. In addition, not only does not belong to us, but he never gave us permission. So the only things that's real out there from Bruce, that's exposed to the public, is his movies where you see him act on screen, is that, and his books that were published by John Little. John Little is the only one that got permission to see his archive of writings, and he put the original writings of Bruce onto paper and have it published so we could learn from it. But that's it. Everything else is false. Everything else is like hearsay. He said, she said. All this stuff where people are claiming, oh, Bruce Lee trained me in secret, taught me everything he knows and all this stuff. It's all garbage. It's all false. There's a lot of people that's been inspired by him. I know one really good fighter, boxer, was inspired by Bruce. And there's a lot of people, not just boxers, not just fighters, not just martial artists, but just a lot of people, athletes and philosophers, teachers. So a lot of people have been inspired by Bruce, but you can't go around claiming Jeet Kune Do. And just because you practice martial arts, even the people that study with them, that's in the past. And that's the problem. When somebody dies, it's dead. Dead knowledge. You gotta flow. You gotta grow, and things change. So when it comes to something like that, when somebody decides to call something a system, the founder of that is the one who decides who to pass it on to. If he decides to end it, then that's it. It's say a successful business like say Potbelly's or Jimmy John's or something like that. The founder of that creates it, the restaurant. He could decide to systematize it and turn it into a chain, so then it could be it could be open in different areas, or he could decide to just open one restaurant, and then when he dies, he just closes it down, and then there's no more Jimmy John's. Okay, and that's essentially what Bruce did. He opened it. He started it, closed down the schools, and said no. It ends here. It ends with me. He didn't give permission to anybody else. And then he suddenly dies, and then now people are trying to make money off of him, so they're just gonna claim his name, claim his way to be a system. But if you read his books, you clearly understand that his way is not a system. So any school out there is not real. It's not real. It's just whoever it is, it's that person's expression of the martial arts. That's all it is. And Yip Man, he's not Wing Chun. He's Yip Man. So it's Yip Man's Kung Fu, Bruce Lee's Kung Fu, Jet Li's Kung Fu, Tony Jaa's Kung Fu, Jackie Chan's Kung Fu. Everybody's original and self-expressive in what they do. It just so happens that there are some people that lead crowds of people, great leaders. Jackie Chan has his own following. Jet Li has his own following. Tony Jaa has his own following. Bruce had his following. Yip Man had his following. Everybody has their following. And depending on how original you are and how good you are at what you do and how good you are at marketing and what type of opportunities you have, that will dictate how many followers you have based on your effort. But when you claim somebody else's way without getting his permission, you're stealing his copyright. And in the business world, you'd be sued for that. But in the martial art world, people just, it goes on all the time. People steal everybody's stuff and nothing, you know, it's just so unrestricted and just uncontrolled. But the fact of the matter is, Bruce had his own unique expression, and all he could do is help us express ourselves to be real and to create our own way. You know, Bruce Lee, that's his name. But if you change, say your name is John Smith, and then you change your name to be Bruce Lee in order to attract people to learn from you, that's not your name, and you're not Bruce Lee. You're John Smith. So create your own following based on your understanding of the martial arts, based on your development as an artist. You got to put in the hard work yourself and do it. But if you're under a leader who's living that gives you permission to use his name, that's different. You know, basically you get certified. But you can't be certified by somebody that's dead. You know what I mean? And that's what everybody does with all this all these leaders, these religions. You know, they're claiming themselves Buddhists, they're claiming themselves Christians or whatever. It was just Christ that had his teachings, Buddha had his teachings. But how can you be certified to be a Buddhist? You just learn from Buddha. You become wise yourself. You're not a Buddhist. He didn't tell people to turn his way into like a tradition or a religion. Just speaking the truth, educating people. Become educated and that's it. Be wise, live a good life. But people, when people die, pass away, they like to kind of turn this whole thing into something that the teacher clearly told the people not to do. Told people clearly, this is not a system. Don't turn it into a system. And then people go ahead and do it anyway. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying that people that are inspired by Bruce, to express it your own way, opposed to hiding behind a label that you never got permission to use. Essentially, Jeet Kune Do is just, instead of saying Jeet Kune Do, you could have just said martial arts. Just practicing martial arts is my own expression. And that's essentially what it boils down to. Everybody's going to have their own creative expression in how they express the martial arts. Okay? Muhammad Ali practiced boxing. Bruce Lee practiced martial arts. So those that are inspired by Muhammad Ali, you could practice boxing too. You know, but it's not like, it's confined. In the martial arts, you just practice it for what it is, and you just claim it as martial arts. I practice martial arts. Bruce Lee's one of my greatest teachers. You know, I learned a lot from him. But to claim Jeet Kune Do and all this other stuff, I don't agree with it. Because so many people in this world has been inspired by him. And everybody's going to express like their way. You know, but really, it's not just Bruce, but it's just the teachings of the East. Being exposed to the teachings of the East, teachings of Buddha, Lao Tzu, and Yin Yang, you know, the philosophies of the East, that really is the foundation to helping you grow as a human being, to see the other side. You know, that's essentially what Bruce helped bring to the West that has an immense amount of beauty. And that is what truly deserves the credit, is the East. You know, the Eastern values, the Eastern ways. And that's what martial arts is. It's a different way, a different lifestyle that's very different than what we know about here in the West. And Bruce is just like a translator that helped us understand that different way. And then when we learn that, we don't have to label it, but we just have to see that it brings us into a balance, like connecting, fulfilling a part of us that was empty. Like we have this Western mentality, and then we learn about the East, and then we combine them both, and then we can reach our full potential. So what I say is that people that think that they're practicing Jeet Kune Do, or they go to a school that claims that they teach Jeet Kune Do, what I say is read all of Bruce's books and find out for yourself what he had to teach. The books from John Little, or any of the books you can get a hold of, read those books, because that's the real Jeet Kune Do. The writings that came directly from Bruce, and the movies with Bruce in it, the real Bruce, not the Bruce Lie, but the real Bruce. That is what you should watch. And the books that were edited by John Little with the real Bruce's writings, that's the real Jeet Kune Do. So study that before any of this other stuff. And that has pretty much the answers to this whole complicated mess out there in the martial arts. Basically what Bruce did was he gave you hints and clues to solve the crossword puzzle. He didn't give all the answers, but he gave you hints and clues. And if you're intelligent enough, you'll be able to figure out the rest in order to complete the crossword puzzle. So that's what Bruce does within his teachings. And all somebody could do who studied Bruce's teachings is to help you understand what he was talking about. But the people that don't understand his writings, people that don't understand his movies, those people are misrepresenting Jeet Kune Do. And they could be guiding you farther from the truth rather than closer.